Wah, not that, apparently. Oops. Oh, and ready to go live on Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button. Okay. And it looks like Twitch is connected. Looks like everybody else is connected too. Okay, this is good. A little bit of a lag today. Oh my goodness. And actually, I need to do this. So if you're watching a recording, go ahead and fast forward about 2 minutes. We're not going to start for another 2 minutes. It's only 12:58, but we like to get started a little bit early, just in case we have a technical difficulty. And I sort of did today. The other day, what happened the other day? So the other day, I hit I hit the wrong X button and closed out all my programs, which means going live just went kaput. But in any case, I think, yep, I have audio and getting things up and running here. I'm good on both. Okay. How is it that you said hi to Linda? I don't even see Linda on here. That's so funny. Huh. Okay. She did? On Twitch? Huh, it's not coming up on my feed. That's interesting. Yeah, totally not coming up on my feed. Alright, well. Okay. Well, hey, Linda, you're here, but so funny. I didn't see the Hi Q and Andy earlier. So strange. Anyway, okay, it's 1 o'clock, so let's get started. Yeah, what are we doing? It's Step by Step Surprise. It's week 14. Today is June 24th. QFOM Greg, Q Talk Live from Ohio. And beautiful day outside. So, yay, last night, woohoo, it cleared up and no rain. So, we were able to sit outside and enjoy our deck and our new neighbors who came over and had a few drinks with us. So, this is sort of funny. So, you know, new neighbors, they just moved in, don't know what they do, barely know their names type thing. And anyway, so this is hilarious. So it turns out she's a teacher. She's a third grade teacher. I said, "Oh, I teach too." And she's like, "Well, what do you teach?" I said, "Well, I teach jewelry making." "Oh, wow. I'd love to take some classes from you." I said, "Oh, okay, that's great." But she didn't inquire at all as to what kind of jewelry I make, right? So fast forward a couple hours later, she came down to the studio to have a look, and she's like, "Oh, you make real jewelry." And I get to say all this, by the way, because I know she's completely off social media. It's hilarious. Anyway, I can even say her name and get away with it. But in any case, so it's hilarious to me that she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is real jewelry." I'm like, "Well, did you think I was making fake jewelry?" But anyway, I didn't go too much further in asking her what she thought I did, but or what kind of jewelry I made. So I just thought that was funny. Anyway, so here we are. We are doing part 2 of the step-by-step surprise. It was already revealed last week. We're making a chain, and you should at this point have caught up a little bit. Oops. What do you need today? You need some cutters, and you need a couple pairs of chain nose pliers. I like my bent nose and my regular one for this. And I think that's it. That, you know, you should have already made it to this point. So last week what we did was we twisted some wire. We made them into rings, twisted rings, and then we had the square wire and we made them into squares. And your large rings should fit inside of those squares just like so, so that they are touching the sides. Was it important that all the sides touch? No, but they had to touch somewhere because we're going to solder those together. Okay, and you should have made some granules too. So that's the scoop there. So from here we're going to move forward. Set these aside, and we're going to make a clasp today too. Okay. Oops. So we're simulcasting today on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live and Periscope, if y'all are wondering. And you know what? I forgot to make a couple extra granules, so I'm going to make a couple extra granules for myself here. And all this was it's fine silver wire. I hammered it, and now I'm just going to heat it up a little bit to get it to ball up. I'm going to make 3. So you should have made enough lengths for the length bracelet that you're trying to get to. Okay. And as always, I like to pick up these little balls right before they're cool so that they don't stick to the board. That's what I'm doing there. So, a little bit more. Oop! Okay, that was not helpful. Did you see that? Probably see some smoke coming up here too in a second. So I'm going to move that over too. Alright, it rolled off the board and hit the table. Might have thrown up a little bit of smoke. My workbench, I don't know if you notice how dirty my workbench is. It's because it's a vintage workbench that I picked up from a tool and die company. So there's lots of oils and stuff on here. It's sort of funny because the studio does smell a little bit industrial. Anyway, so okay, let me pick up this one off the table before I pick it up with my fingers and quench it. So I'm quenching off on the side there. Okay, we're going to, and you should have, with these squares, you should have cleaned up the sides with a little bit of solder, or I'm sorry, with a little bit of sandpaper if you had solder on there. So you want that really nice and neat. Your jump rings, if they are open, you want to go ahead and close them up. Make sure that they're really nice and tight. It'll make for a much better look. Okay, and then, so I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Okay, instead of soldering these jump rings closed at this point and creating an extra step for myself, I'm going to do this in one step. So we used hard solder last week for this joint. So this week we're going to go to medium solder. If you are using copper, you can go ahead and just use your copper solder. And you know what? I shouldn't have put this down. It's a little hot. I'm going to set that aside because I need to work with this. Okay, so here I'm going to put solder on 4 sides. And because I know my jump rings are touching, I'm putting the solder paste directly in the middle of each one of those sides, because really the jump ring should be sitting in the center. Okay, there we go. And teeny bit more over here. Okay, I'm gonna put that down, pull out my tweezers, and so the opening of the jump ring is here, right? And I'm going to put it over here where there's a lot of solder, and it's going to solder closed at the same time. There we are. Mine's a little tight, so it needs a little encouraging to go inside, like so. So my opening on the jump ring is right here, and there's solder there too. So that should just solder closed at the same time. Okay. So then the next thing you want to do is you want to solder this piece right on top there. So if you feel like you can do this in one shot, do it in one shot. So I'm going to give it a try and go ahead and put more solder on there on top of the ring and solder the daisy spacer on at the same time. So I like to one-step everything. It's just a little bit easier and faster. This is the efficient in me. I prefer to say it's lazy, but however you want to put it is what we're doing. Okay, so a little more there. So I'm putting it on 4 spots again, and I'm putting it in the same spots that I had on the side there with the jump ring. Okay, and I'm making sure that the spacer hits the solder at some point. That it's got to touch there, and then I'm sure you already know this, it's going to be the granule right in the middle there, because you know I don't like a hole. What's the point of the hole here? We're not beading. And same thing with a little bit of that medium solder. Now, if you can't do this in one shot, then what you'll do is solder the jump ring to the square ring together in the medium, and then notice I've already soldered this one, the ball on here, also in medium, and then put it down, and then we'll solder it easy if you want to do it in 2 steps, okay? So here we go. Heat the whole thing just like so, gently. Remember, this is silver, but you don't want to overheat this because those little granules on the daisy just might get overheated and that solder might fall apart on you. So be careful not to overheat this. Just do what you need. There we go. It's starting to go now. And all the way around. Cool. Okay, I'm going to quench on the side and immediately put it into the pickle. And I'm going to do one more for you. And same thing. So I'm going to go to medium solder, like so. And on all 4 sides. And I'm going to do this in a 2-step so you can see what I'm doing. And here. And here. There we go. Okay. Put that down. Put the jump ring on. Make sure that the opening is closed. And again, I'm going to put the, or opening is together, and I'm going to put that opening right on the solder again. This one's a little tight. There we are. Perfect. Okay, we're going to solder this. Again, I'm doing it in 2 steps to show you how to do it in 1 and how to do it in 2 steps, okay? Heat gently all the way around. If you're doing copper, remember it doesn't really matter because copper is self-levels. So there we are. So, quench that. Oh! It popped out of my tweezers. Okay. And this is pretty clean. There's not much fire scale on it, so I'm going to keep moving and I'm not going to pickle it. So now, actually it's wet. So let me dry that off. Okay. And get some easy solder. Whoops. Hard solder, hard solder. Where's my easy solder? Oh, here we are. Okay. Put some easy solder out. And so easy solder, once again, I'm going to put it on the same spots. It keeps my soldering neat if I just put it over the same spots, right? Then I have less cleanup, if any at all. Soldering the ball onto the daisy was no big deal. You just put the granule right in the middle with medium solder. And I'm not using hard solder there because I know that the Bali daisies have a tendency to be soldered with a little, not hard solder, but like probably easy, something a little bit less. So I always worry about it falling apart. So I want to use something not as hard, so I go to medium on that. Okay, there we are. Right on top, and we'll do it again. Again, heat the whole thing. And it's easy solder, so it should go fairly quickly. And you're just going to repeat this process until you finish all your links. There we go. There it is. Okay. Sort of interesting. I know you guys can't see that, but one of the ball granules on the daisy sort of did something funky there. But anyway, okay. So here we are, right? And I'm just going to stick that right in the pickle too. So while that's pickling through the magic of the internet, voila! I made 3 already. All right. So now I'm going to just jump these pieces together. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Open and close jump rings. Like so. You're twisting, you're not prying apart. Okay. And I'm going to jump these in alternating um, in an alternating pattern of twisted rings and the square rings. And you just keep doing it until you have the length that you need. Now, some of you, like mine, what's going to happen is you're going to be in between sizes, right? And if you want to make the make your links continuous, continue the pattern, to get around that whole thing of having duplicate pattern is add jump rings at the end, and that will give you the length that you need if you're sort of in between sizes. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second. All right. Does anybody have any questions while I'm doing this? So this is a pretty straightforward project, just sort of fun, right? Unlike next week, we have a project, it's straightforward too, but so next week for step-by-step surprise, we have departure. Why? Because we're departing from jewelry making. So we're going to do, it's not wearable art, so it has to be something more fun. Anyway. Yes, I'm making a bracelet. And of course you can make this even longer and make a earring out of it. It's good soldering practice. Or I'm sorry, a necklace out of it. It's good soldering practice. And of course you can use this as an earring too. That would be fun. So you want to end this bracelet with a ring because that's going to become your clasp. Okay? We're going to make a toggle clasp for this. All right, that is almost as far as I can go until I pull this stuff out of the pickle. Okay. Hold on. Almost there. So yeah, so next week is going to be departure. If you're interested in participating, we are shipping out the we're shipping out the kits now. And I know some of you guys have ordered over the weekend, so it's being shipped today. Several have already gone out today and yesterday actually. So look for that in the mail. Okay. All right, let's go grab the other pieces out of the pickle. So remember, when you're coming out of the pickle, you want to make sure that you rinse it pretty well in water to make sure that the acid is off of there and neutral. Okay. Okay. Here we are. And finish jumping these on. I guesstimated what I needed for my bracelet. Let's see if I got the right guess to get to the right size. Okay. So 4th of July, unbelievable. What, in a week? Are we almost at 4th of July, babe? 2 weeks. Exciting stuff. Week and a half. Okay, oops. One more. Oh, I think I'm short. Ooh. We'll see here. Okay. I think I'm a wee... Oh, no, I'm not short. Yay! Okay. So what I was saying earlier was if you're in between sizes like I am, okay, is oops, yeah, if you put this here on the end, what's going to happen is you have 2 rings, right? And I like my designs to be continuous. I try not to have that kind of business going. So how I'm going to extend to get to my length is I'm going to add jump rings on the end. So that gives me just a little bit of length, and besides, you sort of need a couple extra jump rings on the end anyway because it's a toggle clasp, right? So I'm just gonna put it right on. like so. And okay, let's go make that toggle. Okay, so with the twisted wire, I believe I told you to I believe I told you to reserve some of the twisted wire last week. Okay, so here what you're going to do is you're going to cut 1.5 length of the diameter. So this is about 1/2 inch, so I'm going to add another 1/4 inch to that, right? So it's 1.5. Get out my heavy duty cutters because this is a little bit heavy, like so. Okay. You can make this a little bit more interesting if you want to by adding granules on the ends of your toggle, or you can just file it down and use it like so. Mine's a little bit wonky, so I'm going to pull out my bench block and we're going to, yeah, there it is, great. Flatten it out, straighten it out, and file. If you have a cup burr, that works too. Filing works great. So I'm going to file this off. So I see you guys are trying to ask Andy about hints for departure. Is that what they're asking? Are, you can cut it a little longer and ball the ends. However, we are using sterling silver, which means that it's going to look a little bit crinkled. It's not going to be that pretty. So I suppose you could go to fine silver and do that, right? And you want to, if you want to do it that way, you want to add at least 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch to do that, okay? Depending on what size ball you're looking for. So, departure next week. You know, I gave you a clue. I called it departure. I can tell. I'm sorry. So the question is, how would you solder balls at the end of the toggle? Actually, I'll show you. I'm not going to do it, but I'll show you. I'm going to grab a couple granules out of here. Yes, I have a little granule collection. Okay. So you would just put it on like so, and put a little, I would go with a little hard solder like so, and then on the other end. So one on each end, solder at the same time with some hard solder. Okay, and the next thing you need to do is you need to add the ring here. So we're going to go ahead and solder that. Okay. So close that up. Oops. You want to make sure all those jump rings are closed. So I'm going to get this really nice and tight. Golly, Q. Okay. And with the opening, I'm going to put some medium solder on there because you would have done this in hard, right? But like I said, I'm not going to do it. Put that aside and grab some medium solder, just like so. That's quite a bit of solder. I don't need that much. Okay, take some of that off. Okay, so there we are, right in the middle. Okay, is that right in the middle? Not in the middle. There we go. Okay, so we're going to heat this up, heat the whole thing, hit that joint, and get the jump ring soldered on. Like so, heat it, keep your tool in hand just in case somebody decides to roll away, and get that done just like that. Yep. And I didn't have to solder the jump ring closed because the solder went right into that opening too and closed it up for me. So one-step soldering. Okay. I don't love it. Okay. I don't have a great connection. I don't have a great connection. It's teeny weeny, and because this is a working part, I'm not real comfortable with that. So I'm going to stick this in the pickle and I'm going to solder this again. You know, sometimes the metal moves just a little bit, so it just sort of separated a little tiny bit. Although it's soldered, it just made this teeny weeny little joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more solder on there. I'm going to heat it and then I'm going to push it together. And actually I'm going to pull out my my honeycomb because I need some leverage for when I push the jump ring towards it, because it's soldered, remember that, right? So when the solder softens up, you're going to need somehow to push it to each other. So I think, you know, I'll move over here. Maybe you can see this better. Okay, you see that? So give me a second. We'll pull this out of the pickle. Let's see how that's going. Okay, pickled. Okay. Okay, here we go, like that. So why I need the leverage with these two pins is so when this softens up, so I can push the ring towards the bar. Okay, otherwise I don't have enough hands to do that. Okay, so oops, I'm gonna add a little bit more solder, and I'm just going right back to that hard solder. I'm sorry, that medium solder. Okay. Ugh. Come on. Okay. It doesn't want to play nice today. Let's do that one more time. Grab. Okay. There we are. Being a little sloppy today. Oh. Okay. So right at the joint, I'm going to heat the whole thing. And then when it flows, I'm going to push it. There it is. To make a bigger connection. Good. Much better. Much happier with that. Okay. Throw that back in the pickle. And then we'll add it on and finish up. So what's coming up? We have... Oh. You know what? That's a really. The question was, do I need to add solder to the twisted wire to keep the wire together? You know what? You're right. I missed that. Oops. So I'm going to take it out and put some easy solder on there. You know, the reason why I missed that is because this twist was so tight that it's not coming apart. So it really is a little dependent on your twist, and there should have some of the solder that I put on the jump ring should have gone in there and held it together. But you're right though, you should really put a little bit of solder on there and get it to run through. Thank you. I'm sorry, Andy. What was the question? Okay. So, okay. So, who asked that question, Andy? Oh, Joanne asked, did it occur? What do you mean by it occur? What occur? Don't understand your question. Okay. So, here we go. Oh, my friend from Germany is on Twitch. I have to say hi. I can't remember your name, but you were the first person I followed on Twitch, and you guys really need to check her out. She's Ashmuk Design, okay, on Twitch. Really cool jewelry design. If you want to take a look there. But yes, she's doing. I see that you are stating that you do solder and flux separately. The thing is, we use solder paste, and so the flux is already built into the solder. It makes the step a lot easier when we're working with these tiny little parts. So, yep, that's the difference. And then here, it'll be even easier. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of the easy solder on here. And boom, I'm going to put a little bit on each end, and it's just going to run right down the middle. Anyway, Andy, what were you saying? Oh, so the problem with soldering the jump ring to the bar, was it because it was twisted? I'm gonna say no. It was because um, something had moved at that point. Okay, so I put it back on here. I put a little bit of solder on each end, and I'm just gonna run that solder. So no, if you put the balls on the end, you don't need to solder the twist at all. It'll just hold it. The other thing too is if you fuse and ball the ends, you don't have to do that either. It'll just stay together. Okay. Okay, so we're just gonna heat it like so, just a little bit, and then there it is. Okay, make it run a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Arian, hello. From Oshmuk Design. It's a really interesting name. It's sort of funny, but if everyone whoever's on Twitter, you'll see her name on the feed on the chat there. I think you can click on it to get to her channel. So anyway, thanks for visiting. So the question is, will I solder the jump rings in between the links? You don't have to, but you can, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to add this last jump ring on, like so. Oops. There we are. Add that one on, and voila. Now remember, when you're doing this, you do need to add at least one extra jump ring on the end, whether or not you need the size, okay? Because you need that little bit of room to get through the ring, you see? Otherwise, if you put it right onto your link, there's not enough room to pull the toggle through, okay? So here we are. It pulls through, and voila. Okay, so how do you do the jump rings? It's sort of up to you. If you ordered the kit, you'll see that the jump rings are actually are really nice jump rings, and a lot of times you don't need to. But if you're really rough on your jewelry, you know, or whoever you're giving it to is rough, then you need to put so you really need to solder it. So the question was on copper. For some of you who are doing the copper kit, what do you do to clean up the solder? It's going to be a little tough, but you're probably going to need to pull out something like one of these radial dials, or not radial dials, radial wheels, and that will help clean it up. Okay, but it's sort of tough business. I would probably just patina that and you won't see it. Okay. Alright, so here I'm holding the jump ring like so, and I have my opening right at the top. I'm going to give it just a little bit of heat. It will help my solder stick, and I'm going to use easy solder here. Okay. Okay, so a little bit there. So, I'm sorry, Andy. Okay. So, if you're following me on Twitch, just to a reminder, I am streaming on Monday and Wednesday live at 1 p.m. And then on the weekends, as I have time, I am streaming typically somewhere between 1 and 3 o'clock. So depending on what's going on with responsibilities around the house, right? So here we go. And typically I'm working on projects on the weekends, new projects and things, and gathering ideas for something to do. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so I had the opening right at 12 o'clock. I put a little bit of solder paste on there, and then heat, and notice where I had the heat. It was just right at the blue tip. I'm not moving it around or anything because you know what? This torch is really big and it doesn't need to be waved around, and these parts are really small. Okay, so I'm going to do it one more time for you. So back, I just quenched it. It's wet, which means the solder won't stick. So that's why I'm heating it just a little bit, just to warm it up so that the solder will stick. So right there, right onto it, like so. Can you see that? I'll bring it up a little closer. I know it's a really hard angle. These are really tiny parts to try to show this. Okay, and now I'm just going to put the torch, blue flame, right at the jump ring, right at that 12 o'clock where the solder is, and boom, done. So you'll just continue doing that all the way through until all the jump rings are done. Okay, there we are. So what's going to happen next? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in pickle for a minute, and then I'm going to show you how to patina this. So there we are, right into the pickle on the side. Make sure you rinse it, and I have liver or sulfur. It'll be fun. Yes, typically I use Black Max on silver, but I'm doing liver or sulfur because I don't know, I think the color is going to be interesting, and I wanted to see what would happen. So if you want a really black intense color, I always recommend on silver, I always recommend Black Max. You can get that from Rio Grande. Okay, we don't sell it because it's hazardous shipping, and we don't have a license to ship any hazardous materials. Okay, very expensive license, $2,000 a year, so to ship hazardous products. So it's yeah, you can buy it from Rio. Anyway, so here we go. We're gonna pull it out of the pickle, and here we go. So the question is, what would I use to seal copper so it doesn't react with skin? You know what? There's a lot of different products out there, one of which I like Krylon because it's really easy to purchase, to access. Sorry, you can get it at the hardware store, and you can just do a couple coats of that. Is how I would approach it. So right into, oh, see, sort of interesting. Right into the liver or sulfur. Yes, the Gentech torch will make life so much easier to solder the jump rings. Oh my gosh. Okay, so with that Gentech torch, it's just like the Smith Little, and let me show you. What did I have? You can actually solder ball chain, 1 millimeter ball chain with that torch, if that answers the question. I think that tells you everything you need to know. Okay, I can't say I love it, but we're gonna go with that. Okay, a little bit more. Not all the pieces are, see, this is why I like Black Max, but I was hoping to get like purples and pinks out of this, and it didn't do it. So I am just gonna leave it in a little bit longer. Okay, you know what, while I'm leaving that in longer, let me tell you about what's going on next week. So we're gonna do Memento next week, which is a stamping project for the Zoom next week, and this is the project. It's, oops, with a brass brush. Oh, yep, we're getting there. We are getting there with the when that's done. Okay, so this is Memento for next week, and we're gonna take it one step further. Let's see, does this one have it? Oh, huh. We're gonna put a picture in it too. So not just stamping. And if you sign up for this class for next week for the Zoom, you're gonna get a $35 coupon to purchase stamps with. So that's the key there. Okay, so let's pull this back out. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now you have a couple approaches here. If you like that, fine, you're done. If you want it shiny, throw it in the tumbler, and that will get you there very quickly. But I like highs and lows in my silver, so I'm going to brush it so that I can bring out some of the silver color, like so. And you can also use steel wool. Just remember, do not get any of the steel wool into your pickle, okay? Because it will contaminate your pickle, and then it's going to cause a reaction that will now bind the copper residue in your pickle onto your silver, so then you get this copper oxide onto your silver. It's basically an electroplating process is what you've created by putting steel into your pickle. Okay. So you would use water to brush under with the brass brush. Why? Ashmuk was saying that she would take the brass brush and use it underwater. So I don't know this one. I don't know what the advantage is here. So let's see. See, so it's cleaning up, and I have highs and lows, and you'll just do this all the way through. So the brass would not get color onto the silver is why you would use a brass brush underwater. That's very interesting. Huh. I've never had transfer from the brass, so but I guess that's a tip. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So again, you're just going to work your way through one at a time, like so. I'm really liking the steel wool better than the brass brush here. It's getting it done much more easily than the brass brush for me today. But you can use either one, whatever you have. See, so there we are. Okay. Da, 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 da. Like so. Anyway, so while I'm working on this, let me tell you what we're doing next month. Because a lot of you had mentioned, the show has closed down. Bead and Button and Bead Fest have both closed down, and you're looking for an outlet and whatnot. And because you were encouraging me to do it, I'm actually doing it. We're doing a virtual festival, and we're calling it Virtually Ever Crafting. And I just put out for proposals last week, and this week I am going through the proposals now, and hopefully by next week we will have the site up. I have approximately 10 instructors on board to do classes, and some are bead weavers, we have PMC, we have wire workers, we have a fabricator too, not just me, and yeah, so that is all out there. If you have instructors that you want to see on the roster, reach out to them and tell them to to apply, or tell them to reach out to me and we can talk. But I put it out in a couple of groups asking for submissions and whatnot, so I'm pretty pleased. I think we have probably about 50 classes in total submitted. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna go through it. It's gonna be August 13th through 16th, so 4 days of classes stacked on top of each other. So sort of like what you would happen at a festival. So so what was her name, honey? Was it Arian? Arian. Arian, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to you when we're done because I'm so excited to see you here. I'm like, I don't know why. I guess it's because it's the first Twitch person I ever watched, and we talked for a few minutes I logged on to when I logged on to Twitch, what, 2 months ago now? And anyway, so yes, I'm gonna reach out to you, Arian, and we'll go from there. So that's all you needed to tell me about, your interest. Okay, so there we go. So the classes, the proposals allowed everyone to submit whatever they wanted. So 3 hours or 6 hours were the class times, and whatever was appropriate for their class. And again, we're going to run it just like a conference, and everybody should be working along with the instructor, and you should be able to finish projects in that amount of time like you would at a festival. Will you have access to the recording when we're all done? Yes. We're going to leave it up for 1 week because when you're done with the class at a festival, you don't get a recording, so we're going to give you a week to play with it. Okay, so that's the story there. All right, so the other thing, again, just wanted to mention a couple more classes are coming up. I dropped a bunch of classes last week onto the website, or not last week, what was it, Monday, onto the website. Many of you have found it and have seen it, but for those who haven't seen it, yep, so this is another stamping class that I'm doing. You see that? It has a gold rim on it, so that's called Golden Charm, and same thing there. So it's basically it's a Zoom class, and you get a $35 coupon again for that stamp class. If you do both, you get $70 to spend on stamps. Okay, so we're just trying to do that, to do something a little bit different here and there. And of course, we have Time Churner, which is coming up next month too, and I'll show you Monday's project here in a second. So this week on Friday, we're finishing up part 2 of the Filigree Zoom. If you want to still get in on that, you can, but okay, here we go. See, so I'm just about done. I'm digging it. There we are. There's my bracelet. Oops. Okay. So show off your work, take a picture, put it on the Q Talk Facebook page. I would love to see it. And Monday, this is Monday, we're doing Sparkler for the 4th of July. I just thought it looked a lot like, oops, I was wearing these the other day and I got it caught. Oh, no. Well, all right, we'll go with it. Anyway, so Sparkler, here we are. I thought it looked like fireworks. So that's what we're going with. Now, I showed my son this, 31 years old. He's like, it doesn't look anything like a firework, Mom. Oh well. Okay, so that's what that looks like. But boys. Okay, so that's Monday's class. I'm sorry, Andy? Who said that? Andy, did you just say that? Do I get to say that out loud, what Andy just said in my ear? Okay, so Andy just said it looks like coronavirus. Are you kidding? No, we are not making coronavirus jewelry. No, we're not. Not doing it. Just saying. Okay. All right, I'm done. We are done today. That's it. We finished up the step-by-step surprise part 2. Okay? That's all in the bag. And so step-by-step surprise next week. Departure, nope, no hints given, except it's not going to be jewelry. We're just going to have fun with it, and that's it. It's going to be a great day today. weather is just amazing. And I'm going to go look at proposals and try to get the Virtually Ever Crafting up and running ASAP. And I'm going to reach out to you, Arian. Thank you everyone so much for hanging out for the last hour and coming back and your support and following on Twitch and subscribing on Twitch and everything else that you do and thank you. All right, we'll see you on Friday. Everybody else who's not signed up, I'll see you on Monday. Bye.